Appreciate everybody jumping on Monday night. Had to switch some things up because I was flying back from Boston last night, and there was no way to do the show, and I didn't want to do a weird. I didn't want to do a weird show that like the Delta Sky Club or something on bad internet at the airport. So and be the obnoxious guy, and they're like talking loudly. I don't think I need like some special headphones and a mic or something to get away with that, not have it be like totally obnoxious. So appreciate everybody for joining us. Yeah, it was uh, it was 9-1, and it wasn't great, but
9-1 and the sky's falling.
yeah, it's crazy like how quickly things change, isn't it, man? Like we all sit here just a couple years removed from the 100-0 season finale from the 2021 season, which was the lowest of lows during my adult life for Georgia Tech football. And you're on the precipice of having an opportunity to be in the college football playoff, win an ACC championship. Brent Key's third year, much faster than probably anyone anticipated. So, you know, the chat's pretty good. You know, so it's been an interesting couple of weeks. The good is the offense playing hell of good football. You know, getting a little bogged down in the red zone, not scoring some touchdowns. But I mean, one of the field goals was the game winner at the end of the game. That, you know, they could have punched in a touchdown there if they'd had more time, or if BC had been smart enough to just let them score. Which is what I said for about 5 minutes during the last maybe like a minute and a half of the game. I was like, just let them score. Like, what are you doing? Like, but
that's a sad state to be in too. When we know you're not going to get the stop, and you just got to have the ball last. It's not where you want to be, but hey,
not in that game.
No. I did go back and watch the end, the timeout thing at the end, and after I listened to that radio interview today about Key talking about the refs, mechanics, and stuff were kind of weird. It was very weird. They just kind of stood around for a second and didn't know if it's a first down, fourth down, and so I know he should have more wherewithal or whatever, and guys telling him in his ear it wasn't a first down, but not to make excuses for him. It was a weird situation with the refs. They did not make it clear one way or the other if they were going to wind the clock or stop the clock or whatever. So that's get that out of the way before somebody asks about the timeout. So
yeah, it was interesting because so we were on the BC sideline facing. So JJ Kosh, who's Georgia Tech's NIL guru guy and football dude and great guy, came from the NFL. He was sitting next to me, and we're all trying to figure out what had happened, because on our side of the field they had spotted the fourth down, and we could see that. On the other side, when you looked at it, you could see them like futzing around with the chains, and that was where Brent was standing, and he thought they had a first down. Then he asked them to review it. They said it cleared when it clearly didn't, talking to some people that were down on the field who may or may not know exactly what happened, and kind of told them to suck it up and play through the timeout. So it was peculiar. But yeah, it was interesting that, you know, they got to figure out how to punch more of these touchdowns in. That's the difference right now between having one more win and being undefeated, and probably the top 6 in the country. And you know, it sucks that you have that much pressure on your offense, but it's cool that they're playing to the capability there right now as well. So but yeah, the defense is the thing everyone wants to talk about. Special teams was good, other than Shane coughed the ball up on the first kickoff of the game, right? Was it the first kickoff?
Yeah,
and Trelane came up with the
Trey
ball,
scooped it up. Yeah,
and then ironically he had the fumble later. That was just a really good play by the BC guy. He got his hat on the ball, which is almost impossible not to fumble in that spot with at that speed. And yeah, but it feels like they're ahead of schedule. Some people have mentioned in the chat and on the site and stuff, and people got to take that into account. And you have a lot of things to be excited about too, beyond just this amazing season Haynes King and the senior class has had. You have guys like Jordan Allen, Malachi Hosley for another year, Isaiah Canyon. Look across the board. There's a lot of young talent on this team that's really kind of exciting to see. And then even the guys playing on defense that there's been struggles, but like Amatre Bradford or Dre Fuller or even guys aren't playing yet that they're excited about or playing limited roles like Tay Harris. There's a lot to be exciting, and I think it's this feels so somber for like a team that's 9-1, and it's so weird to me that that's where we're at. But I guess it says something about the expectations of the fans after watching the team, maybe. I don't know. Or just the desperateness I think the fan base has to have like a really cool season. I mean, how many 9-win seasons has Georgia Tech had? It's not a lot. And
yeah,
this is the first one since 2016. And that one took a bowl game. So
right.
the defense has been bad for a really long time. And it was bad in 1998 too. And that was the season I kept drawing all the parallels to before this year. That this felt so much like that team with the senior quarterback, and what Tech fans didn't know at the time was a guy waiting in the wings was going to be a good quarterback in Godsey. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They play really well at night. They play well at home. They have consistently under Brent, so that's going to be a whole other interesting piece of this Pitt game. Pitt is very beat up coming into this game. Their running backs banged up real bad. He left the Notre Dame game. The quarterback took a lot of shots, so we'll see what happens, man. I like that. I like, where things are at on the offense, special team side. There's defense, like I said before the season, if you can get to the middle of the pack, even in these final 2, 3, 4 games or more they have left, you have a chance to do something special. So
That's the biggest positives. Like if we get marginally better on defense in the last 2, 3, these 2 games regular season, and then possibly ACC, and then a bowl or playoff, whatever, your offense, as long as they keep it somewhere close to what they're doing right now, then you should feel good about your chances. But I don't know. I mean, when you're in the 10th game and you see the defense like going the wrong way, it shouldn't be. They should be kind of peaking right now, and that's what's, I know, worried a lot of Tech fans, including myself. Like, I try not to overreact too. It's probably better that we didn't. We had 24 more hours, but yeah, I mean, it's just the frustration of the defense doing the same things that have hurt them all year and not gotten any better at it. And I don't know. I think there will finally be some changes this week. I said that during the bye week too. So, but it is what it is. They know better than me. Personnel might change a little bit, hopefully, but we'll see.
So we can jump in with this question, which is about the defense doing a 180. I think yes, in some ways, but the Wake Forest game was the first game. There've been 3 games this season like this. The Wake Forest game was pretty much the same as the BC game. It just took them longer to score, and they were very methodical, and they missed a field goal and kind of got shut down in the red zone a couple of times in that game. The NC State game and this game were all pretty much birds of the same feather, where they just weren't getting enough stops and could get off the field. So I don't know.
I was reading it on the side there.
Yeah.
Even the Duke game, the first half, the defense wasn't good. They made some plays to kind of get out of some situations. The second half of Duke game, that's when I really thought that, like, it had kind of turned the corner. I think we even talked about it that next week. And then who was after Duke? Syracuse after Duke. Was that right?
And they were just inept because the quarterback was so
Yeah.
bad. Like Ricky Collins was terrible, but they still moved the ball pretty easily up and down the field when he got out of his own way, or they didn't get a hit on him. It's been a little bit of smoke and mirrors all season. They're just terrible on the edges right now, and they're struggling with any type of coverage. And anytime the linebackers have to think about things and analyze what they're doing, they struggle. And then the safety position's been really terrible. And they were a little bit better in some ways this past game, getting Tay Harris in there and getting Jai Gilmore to play a little safety. The problem is the most difficult position on your team's nickel, and that's your best defensive back right now, Jai Gilmore. And so that causes issues. The corner situation, you have your top corner's been banged up. He finally played a little bit this past week. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of frustration going on, but again, it's one of those weird things. It was cold. They're at Boston College. The team didn't seem to be like super up on the defensive side of the ball. That's all about energy and emotion, and they seemed like they were cold and disinterested at times too. And that's what you got to figure out, man. I don't
That's
know.
weird too, because based on what Eford said to us on Wednesday about them, like they were so frustrated, right after that NC State game, and had a week to kind of sit on it. And the stank, he he described it as having that stank on them, like wanting to get back out there, and then they got back out there, and I don't know, didn't have a great performance by any means, and kind of didn't make any changes during the game, and yeah, I don't know, but hey, we're 9-1, so that's the positive part of it. I think I made a post last year at the Florida State Ireland game. I was like, man, I don't know if I'd survive this stress of being in these big games. Now we're 9-1, and I think a lot of Georgia Tech fans like me are kind of showing that being in these situations is we're not used to it, and we kind of jump to conclusions a little bit.
So this is something I talked about in the bail bag. Everyone's like saying, "Oh, the Micaiah Scott thing, move him to end." Micaiah didn't play end last year at all. Talked about this in the mailbag, and if you move JJ or Kilo to end, who plays defensive tackle because they don't have anybody else? They have 4 defensive tackles who are capable of playing. They have to rotate all 4 of them to make it through a game. You have guys who are banged up at your end spots, and they're kind of scuffling through. Having to play AJ Hoffler has been a bit of a bust for them, or a big bust. Braden Manley, who's got a bum shoulder, is not playing well, is not as effective as he was early in the year, not getting sacks. And then you have a bunch of kids who are, all barely out of high school, and Dre and them. And then Ronald Triplett, who they knew was just a depth guy. So you can't move JJ out, or you can't move Stone. Stone is struggling against the run. So that's a whole other set of issues if you're playing him out there. That's just not going to work. Like, that ain't a strategy that makes any sense. So just to cut that out, like, if they thought there was any chance of any of that, they would have done it if they thought Shameik or Landon Marshall were a player, one of the 2 freshman guys, but they're not. Montre, I think, is banged up. I think that's why he's not played as much too. And Stone can't play end anyways. He's struggling to move because he's playing on one leg, guys. Like, this ain't Madden. You can't just slide guys around or whatever, or the college football video game. I appreciate that people think all those things, but I just think that ain't what's going on. Christian Garrett's been banged up. Christian Garrett is coming in with an injury from high school that's bothering him. Like, we might see Garrett one more time this year. I think they're going to try to preserve his red shirt instead of wasting a year on him because they think he's got a high ceiling.
I saw a name in the comments. I wanted to Steven. I texted Kelly this other night. I was like, I was a little rude on Twitter the other night.
Oh, Steve, to my boy Steven, yeah.
I was
Steven, my guys.
I was in a mood, so I apologize for getting after you on Twitter a little bit the other night, but it happens. It was a frustrating night for Georgia Tech fans, including me, but it ended well. So
So here's what
That's
I will say.
impressive.
Here's a hint to you guys. I expect some changes in terms of personnel going into the next game. So we'll see it. We'll see if they actually do it this time. It's been talked about a lot. There's some pretty obvious people that probably need to play less, and we'll see if that happens. But that's my expectation going into the week, that they're going to shuffle some things. Brent did get animated with Blake Gideon during the game on the sideline a few different times. Got animated with the defense as well overall. Apparently got very animated in the locker room and broke shit. So
He talked about that on the early interview today. I missed that one apparently, but he talked about some
on
tables that
Sirius
might have been not standing upright when he got done with them.
Stone has a bad leg. He's playing on one leg. I wouldn't judge too much. They're lucky he's playing like at all right now. Like, I think people don't grasp some of this stuff. Like, that dude had a very serious knee injury and is trying to gut through it through his senior year. And he had a sack in that game on Saturday, which is incredibly impressive to me. But he doesn't have his full base. He's playing as best he can.
What
Yeah, so this is the big thing to me. This is something that said pointed out in the couch coach thing too. Like, there seems to be a lot of freelancing going on in the defense. Like, this is something we saw a couple years ago, right before Thacker got fired in the 22 season, where guys just like start doing their own thing. They're not following their assignments and stuff. And I don't know. There are lots of issues at play here, but clearly there is getting into the X's and O's part, there seems to be a disconnect between what the players' responsibilities are and the calls and what they're actually doing on the field. And that's either a coaching thing. Well, it's a combination thing. It's coaching, players, and something not connecting in the middle of them, or guys not being held accountable. And so you've got to figure out what those are. And I'm sure that's what Brent's working on. He thought it would be better this week, but clearly it was not. And he's been very clear that it was unsatisfactory. He talked about it in the post-game press conference.
Yeah, when you're freelancing on defense, like doing
You can't do that, man, unless you're playing
Yeah.
man to man and you're a free safety or something, maybe. But like,
especially
not when you're playing zone.
Yeah, and especially at linebacker where you're supposed to be a certain gap to get against play against the run, and you're running around a blocker, or you're running out in space where you're not supposed to be. That's where all the big runs come. That's what happened on the Boston College's long touchdown run. Somebody wasn't in the place where they were supposed to be and got busted up the middle for a touchdown. So there's got to be some trust from the players to the coaches to do the assignment they're told to do. So there's something there that's not linking up. So
everybody keeps asking me about Bailey Stockton. He got hurt, and Jordan Allen's playing really well, and Malik's healthy, and so that is an easy decision to make. You have more games. Like, you're not going to force him in. Look at how well Jordan Allen was playing. You're going to force Bailey into that, and that allowed them to use Rivers. And Jamal was the backup punt returner on Saturday. So they were trying some different things there just to give that dude some more time to get healthy. But that's what's going on.
They lined up Haynes and Rivers on one punt return. I thought they were going to do the fake out. Like guys over here calling the ball, and you got to catch it on the other side. But I think it was too close to the middle to do that. But
yeah, I think Jamal Haynes is fine. Someone's asking about him.
He seems to be just like not trusting his blocking some, right? As much as he did last year.
He has always at times had this thing where he outruns his blocking. I don't think he's just had bad blocking a lot of times, and Malachi's had some cleaner looks. But some of it too is him trying to make too much. He's pressing. You can see it. He's trying to make things out of nothing, cutting back too much, and that works sometimes. And guys, he's frustrated, I think, and it was good they finally got him in the end zone. But that's got to be tough for him to watch. Huxley put up 107 on 8 touches on Saturday, and he puts up 8 touches and gets 9 yards. Like, that's going to frustrate any of us, right? Like, but I think I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see, how they finish, and he's still got plenty of time to have a strong finish. He needs to catch the ball though, man. Like he's had a couple of huge drops. He had another one in this game this past week, and that was you sort of saw a lot more of Malachi after he'd had that drop.
Yeah, that was late. That should have been a touchdown on that play.
Little swing pass, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was there. It was easy money. It was 6 if he catches it because he had one guy to beat to the end zone on the corner. Um, but guys drop balls. Things happen. It's football, man. Love Jamal too, by the way. Like one of my favorite people I've covered here. But it is crazy. Like all this stuff is like such like Georgia Tech's in such first world problems, as they say. Like time. Like think about like you know like sweating the like 2 years ago you're sweating the Temple game, right? Like and
I'm on. I'm ready.
oh my
Ready
god,
to roll.
Katie, that's awesome, brother. Is Alex
Do I need to show more emotion on the sideline?
Yeah, man, I love people trying to read into Brent. Like with Brent is not thinking about anything right now other than Pitt and what he needs to get done for Pitt, and they'll be thinking nothing else about Georgia. I don't care what you read on the internet. Like that is Brent Key has told his people, I'm focused on this. Like we'll talk about everything else later. So, I appreciate everyone's concern though, and I get it, man. We're in a weird time, but Brent's as honest as they come with this stuff, man. Like I had a funny conversation with him on Sunday about something else, and it's just interesting, like watching how people don't like just assume like the worst from people, and not everybody's like that. So I guarantee he's dialed in. No one wants to beat Pitt more than he does. No one wants to beat Georgia more than he does. Maybe him and Haynes might be tied at that, but like it's pretty damn high up for both of them.
I don't know. I want to beat Georgia pretty bad myself, so
He'll get out. That'll be like Alex's last day working at JOL. He like runs out in the field and like clotheslines Gunner Stockton or something in the Georgia game.
I'll be like, if they lose that game, I'll be like that picture you posted of the Boston College kid just sitting under the gup right after the game, just distraught. Well, let's find a question here on the board.
Am I going to trademark King of the Nerds? Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure there's probably somebody that's already done that. And like half the fan base is very divided on that idea.
What about a Haynes King picked face, like his face on there, King of the Nerds, since he's a Georgia Tech guy? That'd be good.
That's a Section 103 idea.
I'm just giving them out for free. I don't know about the state trooper uni. I'm on bad terms.
Dude, just wear your Eric Rivers jersey, man. If they wear white, you could like totally sneak out onto the field.
I might get a punt return. Here's a question. Why there's a lot of them about the defense. Why are we not subbing linebackers? It doesn't make sense. I don't know. That's a great question. I thought Melvin Jordan would play a whole lot more than he has. I don't know. That's a weird thing to me. I thought that's why they went and got him in the portal, but something's not adding up with it.
Yeah, they had Chad Alexander, I think, in the 46 because you had Tay and him out in the field at the same time, so they had to switch the alt numbers. It's the same reason why a bunch of the guys have different numbers too from what they had in camp. Somebody asked about Harrison Moore. I'll jump in this real quick. You got to watch the line a little more. Harrison Moore played almost the entire game at left guard last week. He played maybe from the third drive on. He played left guard, and Tano was at center. I don't know if it's worse than Thacker, man. Y'all have some real memory issues with some of the terrible stuff you saw. And Andrew's a friend of mine. I feel bad saying this, but like the defense was much worse with Thacker. Yeah, they're trying to. The jersey you put on the thing has to be big because you have to get it on and off real fast if he has to go back out on the field. So someone's asking about the complexity of the defense. That is an interesting question. That is like something that probably won't get answered until after the season or like during like a bowl run up or something. Because usually that's one that guys won't really answer totally honestly in the moment.
And when you're struggling on defense, you can go two ways. You can like dig into that, or you can like dial it back to where it's so simple, where you just let guys try to go out there and make plays. So I don't know. Maybe they go a certain way this week.
With Paul Johnson, we're running 4 plays. We have 1 blitz and whatever when he took over as the interim, when they fired Algro and Charles Kelly and Andy McCollum took over as the co-DCs, and they had like 4 plays and like one or 2 blitzes. That was it.
Hey, if it works enough to win, that's what you want to do.
I'll say 2019 Thacker was worse because they lost 45-0, I think it was, to the worst Virginia Tech team of the last, since probably before Frank Beamer. Like that Justin Fuente said was the worst football team he ever coached. It was 45-0 in that game.
I didn't wear the Halloween the jersey to practice that week. I kind of backed off. I didn't know if I wanted to be a jokester that week. Maybe I should have. Lighten up the mood for the defense.
I think you will see more Tay Harris this week. And you might get did Buster get fired? They stole the signs. I should ask Buster, but I don't remember if he was he the OC then there or not. They stole Al's signs, I think. I should that's a way off season conversation sometime. I've never asked Buster about that. But that was what Paul thought, that they had stolen Al's defensive signals in that game. The 2013 Georgia Tech Mississippi State game. Was that it? 2012? 2011? Somewhere in there.
I don't know. How long? Middle Tennessee, somewhere in there. The Kansas game.
So people are asking about Tay. Tay played actually a fair bit in the game. I thought he did pretty well. He had a missed tackle on a touchdown that was not great. But it was after someone else had already missed a tackle that was pretty bad too. And right in front of the Tech bench. I'm curious if Savion Riley's ready to go. Like, that's going to be an interesting piece of this. Savion's going to be could have, like, they thought he was a potential starter. So if you get him back here in these last 2 games, it'll be real interesting.
Yeah, he came in on the same depth chart that is now. He came in as the co-starter with Omar Dillon.
So. The one that hasn't changed all season.
Yep.
That one.
Yep, the same old depth chart. I don't know. Maybe it does change this week. Maybe that's what changes for the defense.
They need to try some things, and I think they're gonna have to gamble as well, which can have pluses and minuses. But Savion's played a whole 10 snaps this season on defense, and for a guy they expected to probably be at this point in the season in the 200s or 300s of snaps, so that's tough. Harvey's working his way back. Amari Harvey. He played 28 snaps, I think, on Saturday, something like that. They're trying to get him back in, but not like blow out his ankle before he gets really comfortable with it. So he got some work. Hopefully he's getting healthy. He should get healthier each week if it goes okay, and then maybe he can ramp up his snaps for Pitt and Georgia. But we'll see.
Here's a good question from the board. Do we have more money to play with for the recruiting and / portal than we did last season?
I don't know. I don't know what they're still pooling money. So if you are interested in helping your team win, why don't you start donating more money if you have it? That's the best way you can help with some of these things. Money talks. James Franklin, I think is a good hire. I think.
I agree.
You know, I think he's a guy who's been really successful, especially winning, mostly games he's supposed to win, right? And that's a place where the schedule is not going to be too daunting. I think he is very capable. He couldn't beat, struggle with Ohio State and the Michigans of the world, but like you're not going to see a lot of that in the ACC. So I think, it'll be interesting too to see if Penn State can upgrade, because a lot of people now think they're not going to, and think they screwed up firing Franklin. That's a conversation I had with a national writer on Sunday, who thought that they screwed this up by not having it locked in, whoever they were going to hire. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Franklin does there. I think it's an upgrade over what they've had the last couple coaches since Beamer, though.
I think he's a great hire. I know he did a whole lot with a whole lot less at Vanderbilt a decade or so ago, whenever that was. It's been a long, but yeah, he wins football games. Yeah, I don't know what Penn State's going to do. I think they kind of got into the cycle at a bad time with the SEC jobs opening.
So Stephen would know this. He's saying $88 million more, all in. That sounds about right to me. 6 to 8 was sort of roughly what I heard. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I am amazed that everyone's complaining so much at 9-1, but I get it. Like if things were more balanced and they were winning in a more balanced way, even if it was still tough, I think people could take that. Would back people off the ledge a little bit. I think that people being frustrated is interesting.
Yes,
But
they can. Yes, they can beat UGA and they can beat Pitt. They can win both these last two games. That's yes.
I mean UGA, right? They have a good win over Ole Miss. They lost to Alabama, lost to Florida State. They just beat a terrible Texas team that's actually like not good at all. And we'll see what happens. These two teams, man, seem to just kind of play it up, anyways.
I drove around Sanford Stadium the other night at about 1:15 when I was leaving basketball. I thought I was going to put some bad juju on it, but I guess not. I guess.
Yeah, they were in the struggle bus with Auburn too. Pitt is more interesting to me because the way they've been playing, but you wonder if there's a little bit of a reality check coming off last week for them. That was not a very fun game for them against Notre Dame. They gave up the 90-something yard touchdown run too. If they beat Pitt I'm not promoting anybody for Heisman, but I would say if they beat Georgia and Pitt and he has good games in both those, I think he's definitely, I think, on the ballot to me. But it depends on what some other people do still too. Like he has been one of the 5 best players in college football, in my opinion, this season, Haynes King. And so he needs kind of like that moment, like beating Georgia, I think would really vault him up if they can do that.
Somebody asked about Jordan Carter. It's a big recruiting weekend coming up. I'll just say that they got some OVs, and maybe the class is going to start to take a little more shape in the next week or two. With these official visits coming up.
Yeah, James Franklin was once the coach in waiting at Maryland under Ralph Region, and then they screwed that up, and that's how he ended up at Vanderbilt. I think is that how that went down.
Yep.
And one at Vanderbilt, which is pre-portal, which is really impressive. But so Jeff Sims doing well. I'm happy for Jeff. Like I always liked Jeff. He was very nice to me. He was very cool to all of us. I just thought he was not like the toughest guy in a position and type of offense where you needed somebody to be like Haynes King, run through a wall, or like some of the other guys who played. Even at Jordan Yates, like if he was that level of tough, he would have been like an all conference level guy. It was just he would get hit and like go into a little bit of a shell and make terrible mistakes. He still, I think, he's thrown some picks, but like I'm happy for that kid, man. He's been through a lot and been humbled, I would imagine, quite a bit too. So I'm happy to see him doing well. And he got his tech degree, by the way. Y'all should be proud of him for that too. He came back on his own and finished school, and no one kind of knew about it. He was doing it very quietly. I was the one that unfortunately outed him because I had a friend who was in a class, who's had a kid in a class with him, and told me about the whole thing. And then everybody, it would have come out anyways, but that's how it came out so fast when he came back. Yes, they can host recruits for the Georgia game. It's considered a home game for Georgia Tech. They will have official visitors and unofficial visitors for that game. They'll have official visitors this weekend. Keep your eyes up on JOL for updates on all that. Where would we rank Haynes King in the all-time quarterbacks at Georgia Tech?
I mean,
Depends on how the season ends, probably, right?
that's what I was going to say. Like, if he does some things in these last few games, I think he could be one. Like, I know Joe Hamilton, like, he's always been my number one, but yeah, like the stats are right there with Joe Hamilton. He's got a chance to pass him in several. If he beats Georgia, if he wins the ACC Championship, if they go to the playoff, I mean, that's be a pretty hard argument to not have him number one.
You know, for me, the guys I watched, like, you know, I wasn't old enough to watch like the '90 Jackets, so Sean Jones, that's like before my time. So I would have to go past that. You know, there's four guys that I'll have a real affinity for, having watched. One's Joe, little Joe, great dude too. You know, the next one would be Nesbitt, and then Justin Thomas and Haynes. And so he's kind of in the, I think, you know, Nesbitt's probably in the four slot in that. And I think that, you know, Justin to me was, because I knew him, was real high up. Him and Joe kind of at the top of that thing. And then Haynes is right there with them right now. And it'll be interesting to see what he does over the coming weeks.
And you talked about a little while ago about the parallels to the '98 with George Godsey kind of waiting in the wings. Nobody really knew about him. Aaron Philo, kind of people know him a little bit more than I guess people knew about George Godsey. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about kind of the parallels. We got Aaron Philo waiting in the wings after King. So
I mean, I thought, you know, someone's asking about him being polarizing. I think in a positive, not negative way, since Calvin. You know, in a way, like you've had some special guys, Jameer, obviously, who Jeff wasted. You know, you had Justin Thomas, who was really special. Nesbitt, who was really special. John Dwyer was a special talent. Demarius, Calvin. Haynes is right there with all of those guys. Derek Morgan was a really special player. He's right there. It's going to be interesting to see how this all goes. But if he beats Georgia and beats Pitt and wins an ACC championship, it's going to be very hard to put him behind Little Joe at that point, because I think he will be also in that Heisman hunt and right there. So, yeah, Nico, go back to the beginning if you want to hear about the defense. We've definitely dipped in that toe.
It's tough for me too, because Joe Hamilton was really the first quarterback. Like, I was just old enough to remember, like, the Georgia Tech football. I was 10 or 11, I guess, when he was doing it. So he was my first Georgia Tech quarterback I really liked a lot. So, I mean, yeah, Haynes is tough. I mean, like, he's just the kind of guy you want to. We've talked about it a million times, but like, he's just the guy you want leading your team. And Key says it, like, he's basically a coach, and if King didn't make it, you know, I don't know how much of a chance he'll get professional football, but he could come in and be a coach on the staff right now. Like, he's got that kind of pull with the rest of the players. He knows football. He's been around his whole life. He's just a football player. So I don't know. I want him to finish this strong. That's what made me. Obviously, losing to Georgia last year was the worst loss we can all remember for a long time. But like, the part about it to me was that targeting that wasn't called, that he fumbled on. Like, nobody will remember now the game that he played, the the play that Jamal made, the crazy leaping play, like all that gets forgotten because of the result of this Georgia game. But I don't know. Maybe they'll have another chance to make some more memories against Georgia in next week. Especially
Do they
Haynes.
retire his number? No, the only number retired is Clint Castleberry's number. They've made a point of not retiring. They didn't retire Calvin's number. They're not going to retire Haynes King's number. There's lots of guys, like legendary players. That's just not a thing at Georgia Tech.
Let's see. Here's a good question from the board. There was one that says, any chance Key would take over the defense for last teams? Well, Key's not a defensive guy. He's offensive line coach. That would be crazy
He
to
answered
me.
that one in the mailbag too this week. It's, I'm not going to ask Alex to fix my car. Like he's not auto mechanic.
I put gas
he can
in
offer
it.
suggestions and things to do, but he's not going to call the game.
Yeah.
To the guys asking about recruiting, I've said this a bajillion times. We'll see where it is in about 3 weeks. Like there's lots going on. And it's not just portal. They're going to sign like 8 more high school kids right now for this class, probably 7 to 8. So just have some patience. They signed the bulk of the high profile guys all between basically Thanksgiving and the first signing day last year.
Somebody asked up higher on
If
the
they won a
comments.
national championship, I guess all bets are off. I just wrote it. Go read the mailbag, Nico. I wrote about all this stuff, like the flips and all that. I've written about it a lot over the last couple of weeks. There's a war room up on the site. All of that stuff is very current. Chad Simmons had update on Carson Baker today, the Florida running back commit who Georgia Tech's pushing hard for. There's a lot going on, and they're going to do they're going to take a lot of dudes in the portal. They're going to take like 5 defensive linemen, probably. I would think starting corner, starting safety, probably a linebacker. They're going to be very hard in the portal. So,
if he wins the championship, he might get a statue outside.
You know what? If Tech wins a natty, it would be like the worst defense to win it since Ted Ruth won one at Auburn, because that defense was horrible, and that one had like multiple NFL guys. It was just Ted wasn't very good at calling it. I'm sure they're going to take some portal tight ends. You got a bunch of older guys, and Luke and Kevin Roche basically is the guys coming back. Which was in the red solo. Neither one of us made that bet, my friend.
No, I've made a lot of bad bets too.
Yeah, Alex lost on the Falcons yesterday. I got a funny text about that. I was like, man, you're like a degenerate betting on Falcons game, dude. Like that's pretty low. That's like betting on like Georgia State football low.
Only thing worse than betting on the NFL is the NBA. That's the most unpredictable. Whatever, it's the hardest to bet on. But yeah, NFL Sunday afternoon bets is pretty bad.
I can't believe Bill O'Brien called Brent Key a walk-on. That's very funny to me. I'm sure Brent gave him like an angry text message very sarcastically during the week once he heard about that.
Especially when he talked about him being his driver, like you don't send
that
out.
That would have been illegal what he described if he had been a walk-on.
Yeah, you don't send out GAs to pick up walk-ons for official visits. I wouldn't think. Maybe it was different in the 90s, but I don't know. There's a question about seeing the freshman DBs get play a little more. They asked about Dalen Pinson specifically. I think that.
I don't think it's going to be Pinson. I think you'll see Daquan White and Elgin Sessions.
That's what I was going to say. Sessions probably first. He's more physically ready to be out there.
really struggled when they played him earlier this year. And he's just raw and he's not quite there yet. It'd be interesting to see if over the next few weeks they feel a little bit better about it. But like, he just wasn't ready to play. Like you could watch it in practice and see it. Like he wasn't ready for prime time yet. Really talented kid. Just he's suffering because he wasn't here in the spring. Like I think if he was here in the spring, he'd be in the rotation probably at this point. But like that's how talented I think that kid is. He just needs a little more seasoning. But we're at the point where maybe you start rolling the dice a little bit with some guys too.
Especially guys that don't have don't have to worry about burning the red shirt.
But I think what you're going to see, I'll give you a little prediction for recruiting and the portal. I think you're going to see what Brent did with the offensive line, where he oversigned and pushed to have more bodies to figure it out, and then you let the chips fall where they may with that, and you end up with guys and all that stuff. Like, I think they're going to load up on defensive linemen because that's been traditionally for the last 20 years a problem position for Georgia Tech in some ways, and they just haven't had depth even when they've been good. Even in 2008 when they were good, they had like no depth behind those guys at all. That's been a continual issue trying to and it's a problem for everybody right now in the portal age, but trying to find enough guys there doing what he did with the offensive line, and then that worked out well there. Hopefully it'll work out well on the defensive line. I think the secondary, you just got to get some better guys. That's a money thing. They were taking guys from UAB and Eastern Michigan and Savion, who had bounced around and wasn't playing as much at Colorado. And that's hard when you're doing a lot of that, like to yield you need to kind of hit on some guys. You need to maybe hit on some guys that are playing at, the right level. That might be where things get lost in translation a little bit with the Manly kid. Like, I'm curious. Somebody asked me, could I tell when they're watching practice they weren't very good? It was interesting, yes and no. When especially early on when they would run multiple huddles, and like they'd have four huddles going on, one going in each direction on each of the two fields. And it's like, how do you coach anyone during that? And Jeff walked up. I asked him that. He said, "Oh, we coach in the when we watch film later." And I said that to myself in my head, not aloud, that seemed insane, and that ended pretty quickly. After some people, I think, including Brent, talked some sense into him, but that was like the first spring. And then I figured out, like Jeff Sims was really good when he wasn't live. But when he would get hit in a game, it changed a lot because they just couldn't protect him well. Um, I knew they were bad the first couple of years because the quarterback play was so bad the first year. Like, it was comically bad. Like, it looked like, Mayor Alex out there at times, like throwing the football, because James Graham was really struggling with the offense. Lucas was struggling with the offense, and they just weren't good enough. So,
What did you think about the practice where he put the jersey on, though? Do you think he was a pretty good linebacker?
like, what is it? Is it Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where those guys like laugh themselves to death? Like, it took everything in my power to not do that in that moment. I think Ken Segura, myself, like Rod, whoever else was there that day, like, was like actively trying not to laugh. He thought it was so cool. He was wearing the jersey. He thought he was the bee's knees, man. Um, and I was like, man, you look rough, dude. That thing's too small for you. First of all, like, secondly, like, you look like a poser, like, doing that, man. It's like,
What a time to
like
be
he's
alive.
cosplaying as a football player. And I always feel bad picking on Jeff. He was nothing but nice to me, but he did such a poor job that it's hard to not, when it comes up, to not like just make fun of him.
And just think of how far we've come. That's what when everybody gets down on the board, I'm just thinking like, man, we could be
He was
in
also
a bad
cosplaying as a
situation.
coach. I mean, it felt like that at times. I've told the story many times. There, Paul Johnson talking to me after a game, asking me if Jeff thought he gets draft picks for being bad. Yeah, I mean, I was worried about Jeff from the jump because I knew people that worked with him at Tech, and not one of them had anything nice to say. The kids liked him, like the Roddy Jones or Kyle Jackson or different guys he recruited. They all liked him a lot, but like everyone that worked in the building thought he was like a joke. And so did Saban. That's why Saban got rid of him so fast. Like, they just didn't respect him, and it was weird. But we don't need to talk about Jeff. That
That's what I was gonna
we
say.
got freaking 8 months between mid January and in mid August to talk about Jeff. If you guys want to bring that up again. But the transformation from Jeff Collins has been historic, as Steven said.
Absolutely. Let's get us back on track to the current team. It says outside of Haynes King, Jordan Allen is the most electric player on the team. Is that an overreaction? That was from the board. I think he's up there. Like Malik Rutherford was pretty electric on Saturday night too. Now that he's fully healthy, Jamal Haynes has still got it in him. But yeah, Jordan Allen's pretty. I mean, he's a big play waiting to happen every time he touches the ball. We kind of talked about it over the summer, as much as they talked about a freshman that wasn't there in the spring that had just gotten there and is already turned some heads, and he's showing it now. So,
Brent said the thing with Jordan was like they saw his speed. They were waiting to see it in a game like where he ran at the speed that he was fully capable, and you saw it for the first time really this season. In this past game, you've seen it a little bit here and there, but he's like Jahmyr Gibbs. He has that other gear, and when he can get to full speed, he is nasty. Malachi's got another gear too. Jamal, when he has an opening, has another gear. Malik does, but Jordan's top end speed's really impressive to watch. But that's where it gets interesting because Tay Harris and Dalen Penson, those guys have that too. So we'll see what's going on.
And Eric Rivers seems to be getting more in the flow of the offense now too later in the season. So,
a guy in the chat just said that Jordan Allen drives as fast as a Georgia player can drive.
I was around Athens Friday night. I didn't see a whole lot of speeding other than myself. I saw a bad wreck.
Sped the hell out of there after the game, Alex. Is that what you're saying?
I saw I texted Kelly the other night. I saw a wreck about 2:00 in the morning on Saturday morning when I was coming home. It was pretty ugly on 316. So slow down, folks. It's dangerous
be
out
careful
there.
on 316, man. I'll never forget when they opened it, and obviously I grew up in Athens, and there were like fatalities every couple of days for a long time. It's always been dangerous, so yeah, be careful. Josh Petty was up in Boston with the team, man. He was dressed out, ready to go. Josh Petty's fine, man. You need to relax on Josh Petty. He ain't going anywhere. Brent ain't mad at him over that. It's just a learning situation for him.
There's going back to the speed thing. Not speeding on the actual speed of the players. There's a question about is Jordan Allen faster than Eric Singleton? I would say that Singleton is probably a little straight line faster. He was a 100-meter dash guy. Jordan Allen was a 200 guy when he went to state last year for Buford. He ran the 200, so he's not exactly like the 100-meter dash full speed ahead guy. It takes him a second to get going, but yeah, he's got a pretty good top end speed. I would think Singleton's a little bit faster though if they lined up next to each other and ran.
Let's take a minute here, talk about our friends at Section 103. Alex, you want to take it away? Talk a little bit about your friends.
I got it. I got my Section 103 hat on right here, the blue. They got the gold jackets, got in different colors. I think they put out a announcement a week or so ago. They've restocked on a lot of the hats and polos and everything. All the Georgia Tech merchandise. They've got a ton of new stuff. Well, not newer than the graphic here, but polos are nice. The hats, the pullovers, the Coach Key hoodie, the sleeveless hoodie that probably wasn't enough for Boston College weather the other night. But
yeah, I couldn't believe he went sleeveless when he walked out. I was like,
that's offensive lineman for you. But yeah, get all your Georgia Tech stuff at Section 103. Some great merchandise. They've expanded into other schools now, so their business is booming. But their number one love was always Georgia Tech. So get all your stuff over there.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, Tim Salem's doing it. The chat's talking about Tim Salem and special teams. Tim Salem and Brendan Ferrero are doing a good job with the special teams unit. They've been hit Coach Turbo, as they call him. Tim Salem's been great for them. he is like got drill sergeant energy, like you're in you know, like a training school. It's kind of cool.
He was off to the side at the practice I was at last week, and I was joking with I think Chad or maybe Anthony, I can't remember, about going up to him asking about the Alaskan pipeline story that Key talked about the other day.
Oh my God, that was a weird non sequitur story by Brent.
I would have loved hearing that one from Tim Salem. I'm sure it would have been an interesting story, but I didn't want to disturb him during
Bud
practice.
Grant of all people. And like I was the only one who perked up, who maybe in the room like knew who Bud Grant was. Like it's like, oh, I know who Bud Grant is. Like, but I was like, oh, that's a crazy story. Yeah, the return game, I'm still, the kick return's been a little iffy. They're trying to really get Shane Marshall in there. He keeps not seeing his blocking correctly. It's easy to say that though, like looking at it from the box view and not like a video game and not on the field. Yeah, there's a whole story about Alaskan pipeline and Bud Grant working on the pipeline and all the stuff that Brent told last week. Y'all can go watch it.
There's a question on the board about the defensive staff. Do you feel like there'll be some changes? Like there's still 2 games to play, so
we'll see, man. I mean, Brent's a guy. He's not going to make a knee-jerk reaction because the internet's mad or fans are mad or a booster's upset or whatever. He's very calculated in everything he does. If he thought that doing something right now would make a lot of sense, then sure. But they don't have like a big bench of like there's no Cheney or some other guy, the defensive version of that's sitting there that you can just plug and play. So we'll see what happens. And everyone, Brent ultimately knows what they're working with, so he's gonna make those decisions based on recruiting and how the guys are doing. So sometimes there's more things at play than just X's and O's, but he knows. He's listening to Blake call a game. He knows what Blake's doing. He knows what every defensive assistant, every offensive assistant's doing, what Buster's doing, what the special teams guys are doing. And so he's going to make his calculated decisions off that. We got an old school guy. We're talking about Rock Perdoni, Jeff Ford, Smiley Gebhart. Wow.
I got to know a few of those names this past summer when I was doing the countdown. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I sent Alex a list. I was like struggling with some of them, like to find some of the numbers, and like I was like, "This is what I got." My knowledge base falls pretty off a cliff after about 1988.
There was some good info in there.
Or before 88. What else we got in the old?
Here's a good one. It says, "Do you think the defense has ever stopped our offense in practice?" Well, I know I've seen it firsthand.
We watch them practice all the time. They get stops all the time. Shockingly, they intercept balls occasionally too in practice.
That's what I was going to say. And on Wednesdays, they run their normal offense versus defense, and they go do goal line for a portion of practice. And I saw, I think, 2 separate interceptions by the defense at the goal line last week. So yeah, it's a possibility that they make plays. I don't know. The turnovers hadn't translated into games, so it would be great.
So you wonder at some point if that dam's going to break too. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of just due.
Yeah, they seem like they would have one bounce their way eventually. Let's see here. There was a question about the Gideon getting ripped by Key. I think we already talked about that.
I mean, it wasn't like crazy. It wasn't like a Paul Johnson. It wasn't like anywhere near as animated as I've even seen Key, but he was not thrilled. Any idea what Brent Key thinks of Heather Dinich? I wonder if he knows who she is. Like seriously, like I would seriously not be 100% certain he knows who she is.
I wonder what he thinks about Mark Slaybaugh.
He knows Slaybaugh, I guarantee you that. I know Mark. I've known Mark for 20-something years. And, yeah, he's not going to do any favors to Georgia Tech. But, he's also, I think, trying to be slightly more objective in his defense. You watch that defense, man, it's hard to be like, if you were looking at his an outsider. It would be the same as one of us pointing out the flaws of like Alabama or something, right? Like losing to Florida State. So I understand all sides. I try to remove myself from the Georgia Tech mindset when I think about this. I'm just glad I don't vote. I'm not Chad. I don't have to vote for the AP because I would not want to do that. Those people like just like every single fan base goes nuts on you every week. Like, no, thank you.
Here's one from our frequent poster on the board, Smooth Life. Why is the extension taking so long? That's the question. I'm sure.
Because it's a complicated. What Brent wants is for everything to be set up for him to win championships at Georgia Tech. And so you got to understand that is more complicated than just he wants more money. Like it is a bigger question than all of that. Brent wants to win at Georgia Tech and wants to win big. That is his aspiration. He is in a leveraged position for could be the only time in his career. He has no idea right now with Georgia Tech. So he's going to take his time and make sure that he gets what he needs, whether it is taking care of Buster, who I do think will be back. Is Brent Key's coach at Georgia Tech this year? I think Buster Faulkner's calling the offense. Buster's very happy with the situation and very excited about Philo and what they have done. I expect the extension to be done. I expect it to be announced probably right after the Georgia game, but it's not done. They're not over the goal line yet. They're negotiating, or his agent is negotiating with Georgia Tech people. They're trying to figure it out. So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty confident that he will be back at Georgia Tech and leading a hopefully another good season, another 9-10 win season. But it's not snapping your fingers and going to win. So we'll see.
This doesn't have anything to do with Georgia Tech, but I couldn't have. The Saturday I think it was Saturday morning they announced the Mike Elko extension, and then he went on to have that.
Yeah, no kidding. They went on and almost got killed by South Carolina.
Got down 30-3 in that first half, like immediately. It was crazy. I mean, they won the game, but coming off the extension announcement wasn't the greatest first half of football.
So Bryce, that's the the $10 million, $30 million question. Georgia Tech needs to step up too and show that they're serious about things. They have been doing all the right things, but that's where it's tough having a new AD and having guys been bled a lot by the previous couple ADs. And that's where this all gets real interesting because we're at sort of this weird inflection point in college football right now where everybody's trying to really go chips in, go all in at the table, like if you're playing cards, to try to win before whatever the next thing happens. But no one knows what's going to happen. So it's like a whole weird thing. But they got to go out and pass the mason jar around and collect money, and that's where Ryan's got to step it up. And Steven's saying, yeah, they got to get. I think they need to launch something very specific in line with the pick game to me when you have a full house like that. So someone asking about the Fanning building, it looks great. It's very funny. We were having this conversation a couple weeks ago in Mike Flynn, the SID, about how like the building actually looks like you could like go in it already. It's obviously not built out on the inside, but they've got most of the exteriors all set up. And then they got to build out the whole inside of the building, but it looks very cool. And what they're going to do is great. Brent gave me a walkthrough a couple summers ago about what's going on and like what all the plans were and showed me kind of like some drawings and stuff. I thought it was very cool. Some messages are on the phone, some are on the thing. This was something I used StreamYard to do this, y'all, and they changed some setting between the week that we didn't do the show and now. So maybe there's some funkiness with that. Sorry if there is. I don't know.
I was wondering. It looked different to me too, a little bit.
Yeah, it is weird that people complain about the season tickets cost rising. Guess what? You actually have a hot ticket. The idea was to shrink the size of the stadium, create more demand, to make the tickets more expensive, to create a more premium environment. In turn, creating more revenue opportunities by having more affluent people in the stadium. and that generates more money for the athletic association versus selling a $5 ticket in the north end zone, because you can't. So there you go.
I was looking at Boger. Boger's got a question on here at the top of the second page here about the defensive line not using a whole lot of individual moves. I think the biggest thing right now is, I think even Key talked about it on his interview today on 680, was setting the front a certain way. Like,
But he talked about setting the edge. That was all he talked about last week, and
yeah,
they didn't do it. Like,
it seems like they've got guys doing different things. Like they run stunts, they run stuff, but like a guy will run out, where he's
he'll hit
not
the
supposed
wrong
to be.
gap, or like bust it out, or the linebacker won't scrape, or like the line, like Lightsey got out of position 3 different times on plays where he just needed to bounce on like a pulling guard outside of that guy's shoulder, and he went inside on him, took himself out of the play. Eford did the same thing on one of the touchdown runs they had, where he literally ran into the blocking, ran away, created a hole. He just followed the blocking instead of waiting to see what the back did.
So yeah, like the defensive line, they need to focus on doing all what they're supposed to do firsthand, like as a group, instead before they get to individual moves, stuff like that. Yeah, but
It does
yeah,
feel like the defense is not doing anything overly This was not outgrow like running NFL schemes. Like they're running, a few different coverage variations and it's not crazy complicated, but the guys are still screwing up, and I don't know why it is, man.
yeah. And you got to get pressure on quarterback. That's the every once in a while you got to, like, and if you can't get it for 4, you got to send more people. I think that's another
Send
thing you
5,
mentioned.
6 till you get pressure, man. You can't
Yeah,
let a guy stand on the spot. They learned that in Syracuse game last year.
they mentioned that specifically today on the radio, so maybe that's finally something they've figured out. Let's see here. We're getting toward
It seems like they were trying to keep everything in front of them and bend but not break, but it's ended up having the opposite effect because they're giving up explosives instead. Manley's shoulder still messed. Yeah, I mean, I think he only played like a dozen snaps in the last game. And if you see guys playing off the ball, it's because they are not confident in their ability to cover you typically, or you're playing a deep zone in a like 3rd and 19 situation. If they're playing off all the time, But yeah, it's been they've had a lot of issues with coverage from linebacker to corner to safety. Every single group except for the nickel position has been an issue at different times this season. Other than Amari's been pretty solid, though he wasn't great the other day either, coming off the injury. Thought he did well considering nowhere near 100% trying to play through what was a gruesome injury.
Here's a question. I think the question asker is being a little bit facetious, but it says, when do we start scheduling out of conference cupcakes like Georgia the week before clean off Fashion Hate?
Are
I'm
you going to
with
play UMass or who do they have this? Charlotte.
Charlotte. Yeah.
Is the worst team, maybe in the bottom like 6 teams in all of college football this year.
Well, Carolina beat them like a drum earlier in the year, so that tells you where they are. So
they played UMass a couple years ago, who's dreadful. They've played
they played UAB this
Tech's
year.
playing like Temple, who can have a pulse and be decent, but was really bad for a few years, but isn't now. And they're playing UCF, or when they were in there, or USF or whatever, and they're playing like UTEP and uh, Kennesaw State or something is like their as FBS games before Georgia Tech.
But
That's weird.
to answer the question, Georgia Tech's not going to schedule like that, especially now with the viewership numbers being very important as far as revenue sharing. They're not.
Hell no, that game would be on ESPN Plus, man.
Yeah.
Like no one, they ain't even put that on TV.
Yep, they're not going
And
to do that.
Temple wasn't a cupcake. Y'all don't respect the Temple. That team wasn't that bad. Gardner Webb was the cupcake game, and you want to play that early. You really want that to be your first game at home, or the first game of the season. If it's anything other than that, I think it sucks for the fans. They haven't. When was the last time? It's been a while since they had. I asked this a few weeks ago and someone answered it. When the last time they had a cupcake game to open a season? It's been a minute. And yeah, the ACC is all about wanting TV matchups, so they push everybody to play early. They push for the. That's why you had Clemson, Georgia Tech early, week 3. They want that Labor Day game with SEC, ACC, like that, all this stuff.
I don't
ACC
remember.
goes to 9 games in the 2027 season, so
27.
next year's schedule is the same as it is today, which is Colorado, Tennessee, Georgia, Mercer. Is that right? And then,
Tennessee, Georgia, Mercer, and then next year's Notre Dame,
I think the
Tennessee.
one weird trip next year is they go to Stanford to the library to play.
Then they might go to SMU next year too, or the next year.
That's 27.
Okay.
And that may not hold. Those may all change. We also get the return to Pittsburgh for the first time in a while, and another trip. They have Virginia Tech again next year. That's weird. Okay. I didn't think they did, but they do.
James Franklin.
And I got a trip to next year's schedule is much harder, man. You got at Clemson, at Pitt, at VT, who will be resurgent, at Stanford, who you don't know who the coach is going to be at Georgia, Tennessee, and Colorado. Probably Colorado with a different coach. The 9th game thing that starts in 27, and do they have
27?
I think the Notre Dame game gets counted as an ACC game, and they don't have to do anything. Is my guess. Because they have Hampton, the Hampton Pirates, at Tennessee, and that's weird. The Hampton game is October 9th that year. Oof. At Notre Dame, and they're going to open up, I guess, with all ACC games or something. I don't know. These things I think are going to fluctuate quite a bit as they redo the schedule. But we all thought this year would be a nightmare, and it turned out to be very navigable.
Well, last year was probably the least manageable schedule, and they ended up winning record going to bowl. This year seemed a little more. When we got it in the spring or in the summer, whenever they announced the schedule, it seemed a little more.
Sure, they haven't announced that. That is my assumption is how they're going to make this work, because you have an odd number of teams.
Notre Dame's, and they're never going to join a conference. They're going to keep that money to themselves.
Yeah, they will. They are going to be the last holdouts in that. Like, they're like those dudes in the hurricane with the hurricane coming down on them, and they're like standing on their deck, like, partying, waiting for the hurricane to come. Like, that's Notre Dame. That's not a Miami Hurricanes joke, but
let's see here.
I'm sure they would like to get the Notre Dame game pushed back if they could.
There's a question about the team maybe passing around sickness. It's a possibility. There's a lot of sickness going around.
I spent today in the ER with my wife, who is battling something. I got back from Boston. She was sick this morning and went to urgent care, and they sent her to the ER. So, yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. My mom was sick as a dog on the airplane next to me. There's a lot going around, man. And yeah, as Katie said, some people got sick watching the defense too.
Here's a good question. With all the gambling probes going on, do they need to check Gideon out for taking opposite quarterback prop bets? Let's see here.
Well, yeah, the thing with Notre Dame is they gave them a lifeline by doing that schedule and agreement, and I think it's been a net negative for the ACC in some ways. My wife's doing okay. Thanks for asking. She's feeling better, but she had some more stuff to get checked out, but that was not exactly a fun phone call after she went up to the doctor this morning. Kind of blew up my day.
There's a question about is there a possibility Tay Harris would move to dime linebacker? I don't know. I think he's too small for he can move, but he's not a linebacker.
He runs really well. Let him play safety. Like
Yeah.
get one of the other safeties off the field. Let him play a little bit. Someone's asking about the USC Big Ten. So I guess you're asking me about private equity. I've been clear that I don't think it's going to get done because I think there's too many. There's a lot of there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It seems like with that deal. We'll see. I don't understand how signing your rights away for 20 years makes any sense in this market. Like, regardless of how much money you get, you don't know what. It's a dangerous bet, and that's why USC and Michigan, Ohio State are all sort of concerned about it. Private equity anywhere near college sports freaks me out a little bit too. I'm not a big fan. Will Ryan Alpert give money to basketball? They got to take care of Brent first, man. You gotta have your priorities right. But I know basketball is very important to Ryan. He will try to figure out a way to fund basketball on a more appropriate level.
There was a few Georgia Tech fans in Athens on Friday. It wasn't a ton, but kudos to the people that made that trip.
Did they hang out and then put on the Longhorn gear to go into
I don't know. I don't think so. I saw a few faithful in there. I mean, and I was impressed. Georgia Tech competed. That stretch in the middle of the second half wasn't good, but I don't think the team's as bad as it showed. Once he gets the guard situation figured out, I think they'll be fine.
I thought they played really well.
Yeah,
Georgia's been pretty good. They invested heavy on basketball too.
Mo Silla did not have a good night. He kind of got, and even Damon told us that after the game, it's like he kind of let it get to him a little bit, but he'll learn from it. And they got a whole lot of winnable games coming up. So
yeah. It's $4 million for the first round, second round, and the finals is $6 million. Those go to the team. There's 13 that goes to the conference for each team that gets in, and the 13 gets spread out, but not the 4 and the 6 so if you make the playoffs, it would be a nice little bonus. I thought the game changed, by the way, talking about the Georgia Tech basketball game. I thought Ndongo's foul trouble really changed the game, because they're very different when you have him and Silla on the floor together. How did Josh pull Blue Kate? He looks like a meth addict. He definitely looks like a dude that's from the hills, man. Up in Tennessee, West Virginia area. Blue's a good dude. I got to know him as a recruit. Damon kind of wasn't super interested in him, and they didn't. And he has played his butt off every time they've played Georgia Tech. He gets super hyped. It tells you all you need to know about how whatever those conversations went. I told Damon to keep him when we had a conversation about it privately at one point before all that happened. So
he definitely
is Josh doing well? I haven't thought to look how Josh is doing out at UNLV. I haven't talked to him in a minute.
I know Blue Cane definitely had a play with a little chip on his shoulder the other night. He got that technical early. He definitely was.
He dunked in the game, which he never does.
He had a point to prove. I mean, he got in foul trouble like everybody. That's what I was going to say. Alex O'Connor up here talked about the 46 fouls. It was pretty crazy game. That game I was at yesterday, Kennesaw State and South Florida, there were a combined 53 fouls. And let's see, 39 plus 46. What is that? That's how many free throws there were. It was a long day at Kennesaw State yesterday. So there's a whole lot of fouls being called in college basketball this season. Gotta have some depth.
Where did this come from? This was another stupid thing that came up on the site. Someone said that Graham Knowles was transferring. He is not transferring anywhere. He has no plan to transfer anywhere at the moment. I think he's going to finish up and get his degree. But there's been no indication he's doing anything. He's dressed out and with the team. He's the third quarterback. Now, Would it get interesting between him and Grady Adamson next year for the backup job? Yeah, I think so. But this is all you need to know about your Graham Knowles rumor. If he was leaving, they would be signing a high school quarterback and be going crazy trying to sign one. And they'd be offering a bunch of high school quarterbacks for the 2026 class right now. And they have not done any of that. So that tells you what you need to know about that for right now. Do things change in the offseason? Maybe. But Graham's dad likes like every tweet I have about the football team. They do not strike me as people that are like heading out.
Every time they showed the quarterbacks on the sideline on Saturday, he was sitting right there with Philo and Haynes, just talking, looking at the tablet like he's invested. He's
They're all into it, man. And Graham's a good player. They like him a lot. He can sling it, and it's not like he has like some great portal value. Like he wasn't a 5-star. Like not everybody's going to leave because they're not playing right now. So yeah, as I said, Grady Adamson's legit. Like he's really good. They're very excited about him too. That's why Brent was talking about how they have the best quarterback room in the country. Like, so we'll see.
Grady is a competitor too. I think we talked about that in the summer. Like he a
competes
competitor.
at everything they do, man. Like when they do like little races and like running, and he tries to beat Haynes and everybody else. He can outrun Haynes, like in a foot race.
He's very much Haynes King competitive, like Gene type of thing.
And Knowles got a gun and can make all the throws. Like, and Graham's a guy that knows he needs to be developed over time. Now, does Graham leave eventually? Yeah, I think so. But he'll have his degree first.
I skimmed through.
Tay has played a lot. Tay played 28 snaps or something on Saturday. He played a third of the game, which is a lot for a backup safety. Why does the 26 class suck? Because they're not done. They're going to sign 7 to 8 more guys. You were on this earlier when I said that, dude.
Tay got to play a little bit more too because Omar Daniels pulled up lame.
Yeah.
So
He's been playing more behind Omar and less behind Clayton. That'll be where it gets interesting because Jai's been playing behind Clayton more. But they need Jai to play nickel. It's a whole thing.
So speaking of recruiting, here's the last question I'll skim through, and something we hadn't talked about. How they asked how hard has the coaches jumped on recruits that are with committed to programs like Florida, Auburn, LSU that don't have coaches right now.
They're trying to flip Carson Baker right now.
There have been a few that they've got guys that they've wanted all along, anyways, regardless of if they've had a coach fired or whatever. But yeah, they're trying to stir it up. But from what I've heard, like a lot of the LSU guys love that interim and think that he's going to be on the next staff.
Frank Wilson, yeah.
And then
he's been there a long time. He's one of those lifer guys.
Yeah, and I don't know the situation with Auburn. I see the hot board every day pop up on my Twitter, and it's just the same names, over and over. But yeah, I mean they're trying to get in on some guys that are having some unclear coaching situations right now. Like I said, these next 2 weeks with OVs coming up is going to be very important for Georgia Tech to look good and for the atmosphere to look good.
Absolutely. Appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. If you're not subscribed and you want to learn more, check out Jacketsonline. Running a $1 1 week promo right now. I'm about to post it on my Twitter. Go look it up, Kelly_Quinlan on X, as they call it these days. Check out Jacketsonline, our home, where we do our main thing, keep the main thing, and can actually get into more depth on stuff that we can't talk about on here. Appreciate everyone for joining us tonight. Hopefully we'll be back next Sunday on our normal day talking about a ACC co-champion Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, regular season champion.
That's right. Good atmosphere on Saturday. Everybody get there and be loud and Phillips
But
Stadium.
keep an eye out. We'll probably have something pretty soon on gift subscriptions. I'll remind our HQ, but I'm sure they're on top of it. Appreciate everybody. Good luck to the Yellow Jackets on Saturday. Hopefully the good guys win, and it's a big senior day for those guys.
Peace out.